Step 5. As you can see, Lightroom Classic does not contain any image files. And what we're going to do is we're going to load the image files from the camera SD card onto the 001 LRC watch folder on the desktop, which will then automatically transfer the images into Lightroom. So I'm just going to shrink Lightroom for a moment and move to where the SD card can be seen. And if you navigate to your SD card, and I can find my SD card here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the folder that contains the test images. I click on the first, and shift click on the last. I'm able to pick up all of these images. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag them over, pick them up, drag over, and drop them onto the watched folder. And as I drop them onto the watch folder, you will see the watch folder populate with the images from the camera memory card. This will take just a few moments as the images are transferring. The images now have transferred, and what we will actually see, if we look at the screen, we will see them effectively transferring, disappearing from the watch folder, as the watch folder is a transfer device, and when completed, should always have no images there. It should be continually looking for images that are put there by you from your camera memory card. If we now move across to Lightroom, we will see that Lightroom is now populated with all of the images that come from the memory card. Just want to page through the images. If I select one, press F on the keyboard, and then using your arrow keys, you can toggle through the images that have just been imported. And you can see that these images have imported extremely quickly, where you can carry out your final edits Of course, the next thing that we need to do is we need to categorize the images, and we can do that from Lightroom. Step 6. In this step, I will explain how you're going to categorize your images directly from Lightroom to your hard drive. What we're going to do is we're going to create folders for each of the subject matters. In this case, I'm going to create 3, one for portrait, landscape, and sport. Effectively, you can cover as many subjects as you need to. To do that, we're going to actually be in our library mode. And if we move down in the library, you'll actually see that the auto imported photo folder contains 39 images. And that currently lives on the hard drive structure that we've created. What we're going to do now is we're going to create a further structure to that hard drive, to house the allocated images for portrait, landscape and sport. So if I now go to my plus on my folders and I press my plus key and add a subfolder. I'm going to call this 001 and it's going to be portrait. And I'm going to create. And we can see that our portrait is created. We go back to the top level. This must always be highlighted because you're adding below this. That's the important thing to remember. So again, we're going plus. We're going to add a subfolder and we're going to go 002 landscapes and we're going to create it. Again, we're going to go plus, add a subfolder, 003 and it's going to be sport. So now, as you can see, they're not lit, they don't contain anything. And our next job is to populate it. What I'm going to actually do here is I'm going to populate this with one image for each of them, just to show you the process. And you can continue it as many times as you need. So by picking up this portrait, you'll see that it lights up when I click on the image. Click on the middle of the image. I select the portrait and bring it down. Over the top of portrait, you'll see portrait lit up. On my little thumbnail, you'll see a plus. And if I let the mouse go, you'll see I get a warning. Keep the warning going. So you'll always remember, if you made a mistake, then you can also say cancel and start again. So I'm just going to go move. And in my portrait, you will see one image. I'm going to go across to my landscape. I'm going to pick it up in the same fashion. I'm going to bring it down. Now my landscape is turned yellow and I'm going to let that go. Again, I get the warning. I've got a landscape in. I'm going to pick up a sport image. I'm going to move it across to sport. Again, you'll see it turn yellow. I let it go. Again, I get my warning and I'm going to move the image. So effectively on the hard drive, I'm currently actually physically moving images into a new structure. Let's go out and let's visit the hard drive. So I'm going to go out to my Finder, have a look at my hard drive, and now on the hard drive, I'm going to my image files. You'll now see that I've got a sport folder, and I've got a portrait folder, and I've got a landscape folder. And when I actually would go down through all of these, effectively they would all populate to the new location. And on that new location will contain the images just for sport, etc., etc. So if we move back to our Lightroom, and if we want to just look at all of our portrait images, say we're doing a portrait edit, or we're actually going to just look at the images that we got in that category, if we press the button on portrait, it will only show us a portrait. We could have 10,000 images in here, but it's only going to show us the portrait content. If we move over landscapes and press the button, it's only going to show us landscapes. If we press over sport, it's only going to show us sport. So effectively, you're now moving images from within Lightroom that is physically affecting where they're stored on the hard drive. Again, as I said before, this hard drive now is totally portable. You can just take this with you, and as long as you're using a Lightroom program elsewhere, then you will be able to read, update your images, and effectively transport them back to base on a continuous basis. Now what I'd like to show you, I'd like to show you some power that Lightroom has been given with a recent update. A level of power that didn't exist previously. And I'm just going to go out to my portrait just to demonstrate the power that it now has. And I'm going to go up to my develop module. And in my develop module, first of all, I'm just going to go through the procedures of what we would actually do to carry out the develop. So what I'm actually going to do with this is I'm just going to do a basic auto update. And then I'm going to go down through and be a little more specialized in what we're going to do. So we're going to effectively use the option that has been amended. And on it we can create masks for subjects, for sky, for backgrounds. That would have taken us hours to do previously, or not just hours to do, but the learning curve. We would have needed a lot of experience to be able to carry out what the computer can do for us in a matter of a few seconds. What I'm actually going to do with this particular image is I'm going to drop the background to black. If I select the background and go to my exposure and drop the exposure, and I'm also going to drop the blacks as well to get me a more defined black image. If I press my filter again, and if I now press my F key, you will actually see what we've done. We've taken out the background that was there and we've replaced it with a black one, all in a few clicks. Now what we can actually go and do after that is we can carry out changes to the subject. And carrying out changes to the subject is now again quite easy. What we want to actually do is we want to select people. So if we just click and select the person, it knows there's one person in this image. And if we click that, what it will actually do, it will allow us to isolate areas of that person. We've got the facial skin. And just go down through these. You've got the facial skin. You've got the body, which is currently showing skin. You've got the eyebrows, which are lit up. You've got the whites of the eyes. You have the pupil and the iris. You have lips. And you have hair. So effectively, these can all be manipulated with different values just by making your selection. So just to give you a flavor, I'm going to select the eyebrows. And I'm going to create the eyebrow mask. Now with the eyebrow mask selected, decrease the exposure, just give it a wee bit of a shadow. And effectively, if we wanted to actually change this image totally to black and white, I could go back into my folder and create a new mask, select the people. I've now selected all of them. I'm going to create an entire mask. And what I'm going to do in this instance is I'm going to drop the saturation. And from the saturation, I'm going to effectively increase a bit or decrease a little bit of the exposure, increase the contrast slightly, and drop down the highlights, drop down the shadows, decrease the blacks, increase a bit of texture, and produce a wee bit of clarity. And now, if I press the F key, look what we've done in a few clicks. It might be a little bit extreme, but I've only used it in extreme to show you what can be achieved. It effectively will allow you to carry out some very complex edits and have fun using the program.